Hello there. The Irish government's response to yesterday's riots will be to crack down on anyone they regard as far right. This was so highly predictable. The Irish Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, has vowed to introduce tough legislation so he can take on the far right in his country. This comes after 500 people looted and took on the police in Dublin last night, causing damage to private and public property, including police vehicles, that will cost tens of millions of euros to deal with, said Varadkar. And he called the events shameful and said, "These criminals did not do so because they love Ireland. They did so because they were filled with hate. They love violence. They love chaos." So he's going to accelerate the hate laws he's got going through the Irish Parliament right now so as to modernise our incitement to hatred legislation for the social media age. Will this include cracking down on anyone with real concerns about the high levels of new people arriving in Ireland? Will it apply to anyone asking if their infrastructure is to be improved and housing built in line with the increasing size of the population, etc.? Will it mean police officers continually pounding the social media beat to find the ne'er-do-wells? Anyway, what this says to me is that Varadkar and his government do not believe that the people of Ireland are concerned about the current rates of inward migration. Either that or he doesn't care. As I said in my last video, these events on the streets of Dublin last night were not a spontaneous reaction to the earlier event of the day in Parnell Square East. This must have been bubbling for some time, building up while many Irish citizens felt left out. And just telling these concerned people that they will now be considered as far right and hunted down is not, I think, the right route to go down. And why no attempt to understand any of these concerns people have? Is the only concern here what those like the WEF and the UN think? Strangely, there are now reports that the suspected perpetrator is actually an Irish citizen. But no one in authority is confirming this one way or the other. But an Irish citizen does not have to be born in Ireland. Anyway, be careful what you say on social media in both the UK and the Republic of Ireland. They'll be watching you. While the BBC has decided that its employees should not be attending Sunday's big anti-Semitism march in London. Those working in current affairs and factual journalism who asked for permission to attend the march have been told to go and look at the impartiality rules that the BBC has, where it says they should not participate in public demonstrations or gatherings about controversial issues. How on earth can protesting against anti-Semitism be considered as controversial? Is the BBC saying that there is an argument for anti-Semitism? And the BBC doesn't consider Pride to be controversial, does it? Now, in defence of itself, the BBC says that it has also stopped staff attending pro-Palestine marches. Well, so would I, when a number of the protesters are shouting out their genocidal chants and openly glorifying the proscribed organisation Hamas. In fact, as others claim, it appears that the BBC is treating anti-Semitism differently to other forms of racism. Richard.
Please bear with me on this. I would like to talk to you about the fundamental flaw we have with Britain today, and the elephant in the room, and I will get onto it in a roundabout way. So, we have all been duped into thinking that the outcome of our lives 100% reflects the efforts we put into our lives. If only that were true. For a few lucky people, this is the case, and they get to reap the rewards of their hard work. But there are those who have simply lost everything after a lifetime of back-breaking hard work. And it doesn't just apply to monetary wealth. You can give your all into a relationship and then find you are with the wrong person, and you will leave that relationship bled dry, physically and emotionally, with nothing left at the end except regrets. How many times have we all experienced this and bought into the happy ever after lie pushed on us by the entertainment industry? In my experience, life has been one long battle for happiness, and when you find it, it can be stripped away without warning, be it your wealth, your health, or a loved one. So the point I'm trying to make here is we are living lives with false expectations, expectations that our forefathers didn't have. They knew that life could be short and cruel, but they accepted that and had their Christian faith to fall back on. This faith underpinned the morals of society back then, and we lost those morals, or a lot of them, when we became a secular society, especially in the 1960s, when we saw so much change in our culture, but I see little in that change that took place in the 1960s which benefited society. Yes, it was the beginning of women being able to find an equal footing with men, especially in the workplace. But that led to the money men seeing an opportunity to inflate property and asset values now that a second high earner was in the workplace and could service a mortgage or rental. So now it takes two people doing two jobs to be able to afford to put a roof over a family's head. In other words, the choice to work that women had for betterment became the obligation to work out of necessity. Of course, there have always been women in utter poverty who have had to work terribly lowly jobs. But society was geared towards the traditional family unit and looking after and raising children. It's a full-time job in its own right. We should never underplay the work that women have done historically on this. And I'm not going all feminist on you, but it's a fact. And men, incidentally. I know, I've done a lot of that in my time. There are so many glaringly obvious examples of how our walk away from the Christian faith led to societal issues. Just look at how little respect children have today for their parents, for their teachers, and anyone in positions of power and authority. And who can blame them when they have been raised to think there are no consequences to their actions? And the root of that is to believe there are no eternal consequences to actions. Anyway, what do you lot think about what Mr. Taylor and myself have said in today's video? Leave your scribbles in the comment section below for Jeff and I to read. And a huge thanks to all of you that keep the channel going with your donations via Patreon, PayPal and Super Thanks. It means the world to us, and it does help us to at least keep it going. And links are in the descriptions box below on how to support us. So God bless each and every one of you, and bye for now.